Okay. We started this last time, and on another sheet of paper, I want you to build a different table. So on a separate sheet of paper, create this table here. All right, formula given. Right, asking for, then you write SPA of. You'll probably fill up about a half a sheet at least. So, right, formula given, asking for SPA. Kind of depends on how big your handwriting is. So formula given, asking for, and then SPA of. SPA stands for sign pattern analysis. I believe I mentioned that last time. If you put Danica's chart next to this table, it makes figuring it out a lot easier. So we'll write Danica's chart here. Okay, so for example, they give me the formula for F. And they ask me to find a relative max on F. I need to do a sign pattern analysis. So you look over here. F has a relative max when F changes from increase to decrease. So I need to do an analysis of the signs of F prime. That's what I want to do the analysis of, the signs of F prime. Knowing how the signs of F prime change will tell me how F changes from increase to decrease. So I'm going to do a sign pattern analysis of F prime. Because knowing when the signs of F prime change will tell me when F changes increase to decrease, which will tell me when F has a relative max. Show me one or two if this makes perfect sense. Just one or two, secret ballot, please. Got a few twos. We'll just keep going for a second. A few more examples will probably help. So this is where you can pretty much create anything you want, because this is what you have to be prepared for. Test 3 will occur on either December 1st, 5th, or 7th. Kind of weighing the date based on the trade-off of sooner gives you more time after if you need to do corrections and or a retake before the end of the term on the 22nd. But waiting a little longer kind of helps you get a little more time for preparations. 1st, 5th, or 7th. But on that test, you're going to have to be doing this several times. Like there'll be several problems that involve this idea of sign pattern analysis. And they're going to give you all different scenarios. Like they're going to give you F, F prime, F double prime. They're going to ask for all those different things I listed on the page over here. So they're going to ask for any of these things. And you've got to be prepared to find them. So somebody, raise your hand, I'll pay you. Just paint a new scenario here. Like give me something and ask for something, and then we'll figure out what you need to do to sign the chart out. Please, Brady.
F of X.
So let's say they give you F.
Oh, yeah.
So they give us a formula for F. And what do you want them to ask us for?
Can we do the max on the -4,4?
So we're going to find the max. And it was a certain interval. That interval will be different for each problem. So we're going to find the max of F. Okay, 2 points for Brady. Turns out that to answer that question, you're going to study the signs of F prime here. The reason you study the signs of F prime is when you know that F prime is positive, you'll know F is going up. So you'll know that F is getting higher. When F prime is negative, you know F is getting lower. That's going to allow you to find the highest point on F. I'll give you one or two if the purple makes sense. One or two if the purple makes sense. We'll keep going. Somebody give me another example. Oh, please, Ellen.
Why is the F, like, why can't you just find it on F?
Great question. Read the name for me, please.
Sarah Parker.
Sarah.
Oh.
The problem is this, Ellie. We don't have a graph of F itself. And it's, given the problems, like the kind of problems they ask you to deal with, creating a graph of F is not easy. And so our best option is to go create a sign chart of F prime, because that actually is pretty easy. And then knowing when F prime is positive, I'll know when F goes up.
So you can find F prime by doing the derivative, but you still don't know the graph of F prime either.
You do not, but we don't need a graph of F prime, we just need a sign chart of F prime. The key thing, go, keep talking.
Sign chart is just that advantage, right?
Essentially, like I'll show you a little more detail. But all the sign chart's going to tell you is when F prime is positive and when F prime is negative. Once we know that, we can tell when F is increasing and when F is decreasing. So we really never have a graph in any of this. We never actually get any graphs. We just have the sign chart tell us what the graph would be doing.
So if the equation is positive, then it's going to be
But
positive.
the way you'd have to say it is if F prime is positive, then F will be increasing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Sarah, please.
Okay, I have two questions. So one, like the sign pattern analysis, is that just like, I don't really get what that means.
Yeah, it's because I haven't shown you enough of what it really means yet. The big idea is simple though. We're going to figure out a way to determine when F prime is positive, when F prime is negative. Once we know that, we'll be able to determine when F is increasing, when F is decreasing. So for now, all I really mean by a sign analysis of F prime is we'll show you a way to figure out when F prime is positive or negative, knowing that you'll be able to figure out when F is decreasing or increasing. Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Keep talking.
And then, so then in that column where like when it says like F and X curve, so the sign pattern analysis, that doesn't mean we're gonna do anything with that. That just means we're gonna look at that to determine the other, what it's asking.
Yeah, that's very good. 3 tickets for that comment. That's exactly what the table is showing you, is that you're asked to find out something about F, but you're not going to do it by looking at F, really. You're going to do it by looking at F prime. Because we can determine the signs of F prime fairly quickly. I'll show you how in a minute. Once we know the signs of F prime, we'll know when F goes up or down. And that's where we're headed. That's very good. Anyone else? Do another one. Just need to keep filling out this chart. There's many, many possibilities. Heidi, please.
If the formula was F prime of X, could you do that?
So if I write F prime here,
Yeah. And then
and what do you want us to find?
you're looking for the minimum on F prime of X? Then would the spot, the SPA, would it be F prime, F double prime?
Nicely done. 3 tickets. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly the pattern I want you to see. Perfect.
So can we work backwards? So we're given the formula of F prime of X.
Hold on.
And we're looking for a max on F.
So what do you do? A sign chart?
I,
No, you know. Stay with me for a minute. Look. So you want to find out where F has a max, right? Just looking down at this chart, you want to find out where F has a max. That means we've got to find out when F goes up and when F goes down.
okay.
So what signs do we analyze? Like we analyze the signs of what to figure out when F goes up and down?
F prime.
F prime. So this is still F prime, Landon. It's just that if they give you F prime and they're asking about F, they're just giving you a head start.
Okay.
You don't have to go find the derivative of F.
Okay.
You already have the derivative. Does that make sense?
And then you would just do
So you do a sign chart for F prime. Perfect.
So if you were given F double prime,
Hold on. Go ahead, Deborah.
and you want to find when the F is concave up,
There we go.
so you want F prime.
Okay, let me help you. concave up, again, it's all about analyzing signs. That's why it's sign pattern analysis. So I want to find when f is concave up, I need to look at the signs of what? F double prime. That makes sense? Perfect. Please.
So we can never do a sign analysis for F either, we can't come up with a sign.
Nicely done. Listen to Sarah. The only exception, I suppose, I can't think of an example, is if they were giving some sort of problem where, remember, these are all relative. There's something that belongs in this column, we just don't have a name for it. So if you created a column like another function over here, the chart would look like this, increase, decrease, positive, negative, and you would be analyzing the signs of that. But I've never seen them do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's very good. Please.
So when you're like analyzing, or, yeah, when you're doing the sign and analyzing whatever, what's the difference between a max and a relative max?
Oh, awesome.
Chart?
So relative max is what we've studied already.
Yeah.
F has a relative max when F changes from increase to decrease.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
The max of F is slightly different. The max of F is simply look at every single point on F and find which point is highest.
Okay, so how would you do that with the F prime?
Got it. That I'll show you in a minute.
Okay.
But that's where we're at. Is that enough for now? Cool. Anybody else? Okay, show me one or two if this table makes sense to you now. One or two. Okay, one or two if the table makes sense.
Would it make sense?
We're getting closer. We'll keep going through them. So, okay, please.
Could you ever have like F and then after prime spot of
Sure.
double prime?
Let's write it down. Let's write it down. So, you started with saying they give you what?
F.
F. So they're going to give us an equation for F. And what do you want? What are they going to ask us to find? A critical point on what?
F prime. Okay, F prime has critical points when the tangent slope of F prime is either 0 or undefined. So what do we want to analyze to figure out when F prime has the tangent slope is 0 or undefined?
The derivative.
The derivative of F prime. What's the symbol that represents the derivative of F prime? F double prime. Not sure if that was your question, Ellie.
Yeah.
The more you add to this, the more helpful it will be on lots of different homework problems. Does anyone have other ones they would like to add? I'm glad to do as many as you want. Because really, in the homework and on the test, you have to answer all of these different questions about all kinds of different scenarios and situations. But once you get the pattern, it's really not hard. Like once this makes sense to you, you can really apply it to any situation. Do we need any more? Please.
F prime.
So let's say they give us F prime.
Inflection point of F.
So we're going to find an inflection point of F. What else? So what would we be doing a sign chart of?
So the inflection point is
Yeah, this is why, no, you're doing great. This is why I keep telling all of you, these memories have got to be much more rapid. Like you've got to work with the flashcards more. It's got to come to mind as quick as 2 times 7. F has a relative, so F has an inflection point when F changes concavity.
okay.
So what do we analyze the signs of to determine when F changes concavity?
Not F.
F double prime. If they give you F prime to start with, Ellie, they're simply giving you a head start.
Okay, okay.
Sarah, basically.
Why does it matter what formula they use? Sure. Is anything really different, like, when F is coming up, or you always
Listen to Sarah's question, 3 tickets, it's excellent. So what you just said was, if I'm trying to figure out when f is concave up, Sarah, that's really good. When f is concave up, I'm definitely going to have to do, because I don't have any graphs. If we have graphs, we don't use this at all. Everything we did in Unit 1 was how to do all of this with graphs, right? 1 second, Heidi, you could, come on. So if I'm trying to find out when f is concave up, I'm definitely going to have to analyze the signs of f double prime. The difference is they may give you a little bit of a head start. Instead of giving you a formula for f, if they gave you the formula for f prime, it just saves you doing one derivative.
Okay, but it doesn't change.
It doesn't change that. Like, no, you still have to analyze f double prime.
Okay.
It's just easier because, in fact, they may do this, Sarah. I've seen a problem that does this. This has been an AP problem in the past. They give you f double prime. And they say, please tell me when f is concave up. And you're like, hooray, it's a really easy problem because I don't have to start with f, find a first derivative, then find a second derivative, and it gave me what I need.
Okay, what about if they give you like, they give you f double prime, but then you define like something, like when it's decreasing?
You can't say, yeah, I mean,
When f is increasing?
God, they won't do that. Because you're correct. I'm trying to figure out when f is increasing, f double prime doesn't help me, so they won't do that. At least not yet. Until we learn how to go from f double prime to f double prime, which is in January. That makes sense? Good. Great. Go great. Please.
So this
Welcome
is
to
just
college.
that clarification. So when you're doing the spot, are you basically just looking for where the like, based on what you're asking for, are you just looking for where you can get changing from positive to negative on each? Is that
Yes, that's very good. It's sign pattern analysis because
Yeah.
you're completely focused on signs only. You're only focused on positive and negative changes. And then you're correlating when f prime, say, changes positive to negative to
Okay.
indicate to yourself when f would change increase to decrease.
Okay.
It's perfect. Anybody else? Awesome. Heidi, you have a question to go back to?
He answered it.
Oh, good, yes. All right. So back to this one now. Okay, we're gonna do all of this given this formula for f, okay? And we started it last time, so here's how sign pattern analysis works. For example, let's start with our max. I'm trying to find where f has a relative max. Let's draw down this chart here to remind us.
There's something.
I hope you've realized the value of the chart at this point. Yeah, you don't have this memorized. Counselors down the hall. Okay, I want to find when f has a relative max, which means I must find when f changes increase to decrease, which means I need to know when the signs of f prime change. I'm going to say it one more time, and I want you to give me 1 or 2 if that makes sense. I'm trying to find where f has a relative max, which means I've got to find where f changes increase to decrease, which means I need to know when the signs of f prime change. 1 or 2. So everybody give yourself 2 tickets. Well done. Cool. So I do a sign chart of f prime. So up here, I find the derivative of f. Okay, you should make a note that says you can only make sign charts with factors. That must be memorized. Last part would be great. You can only make sign charts with factors. You can only make sign charts with factors. So I have to factor f prime. Now I can make a sign chart of f prime. To make a sign chart, draw a number line. The number line represents every possible value of x, from negative infinity to positive infinity. You list the factors of what you are sign charting. We're sign charting F prime. So you list the factors of F prime.
Do you have any or cards?
Yeah. 8,000 on order. They haven't quite got it right, but I still have a few left over.
That's not enough.
We'll start with 8. Anybody else?
I'll take it.
Anybody else need one? No. One each.
Yeah.
Did good on your retake. Well done. Yes. Good scores. Good work. Well done. No, sincerely, very good. All right. Here's how a sign chart is constructed. Basically, all you're doing is you're just finding every possible value of F prime, just one X at a time. So let's start over here. This is like negative 100, I don't know, negative 100. Just want you to say the answer as I ask you the question. If you take a negative 100, plug it into this X, will this be positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. Negative 100 plugged into this X, this will be negative 100 plugged into this X will be negative. The response is very weak. Negative 100 plugged into this X will be
Negative.
There we go. Let's see, F prime is made up of this factor multiplied by this factor. So the negative value multiplied by negative causes this to be
Negative.
Positive.
The negative value multiplied by this value causes this to be
Positive.
Positive. Okay, show me 1 or 2 if that made perfect sense. Show me 1 or 2 if that made perfect sense.
Shut the line. No, I'm not. You're lying.
So some people said 2. If you'll ask something, it will help.
So I just missed like that statement that you just said. You said,
No worries, so I just say it back to you, you're good. So are you okay that if this is negative 100,
yeah,
we plug it in, this will be negative?
yes.
Negative as well. Okay, look at F prime. F prime is this value multiplied by this value. So if this value is negative, and this value is also negative, F prime's value will be
If it's, if I go past 2, then I go positive. And then, I'm just confused on why, like, what's.
we'll get there in a second. Hold on. I think you'll see this. Anyone else? Okay, let's do another one. Look up. Hey, just say it out loud, please. Let's go to like, I don't know, negative 10. So we take negative 10, plug it here, positive or negative? Quick.
Negative.
Negative 10 here, what's this?
Negative.
These two things multiply to create this, so what's this?
Positive.
Positive. Okay,
Positive.
now, the way of, show me 1 or 2 if that makes perfect sense. Come on, 1 or 2 if that makes perfect sense. Give yourself 2 more tickets. Okay, the way I'm showing you right now is the slow method. Okay, F prime is created by simply multiplying these 2 factors, right? F prime is created by multiplying those 2 factors. So rather than figure out what this factor is, and then what this factor is, and then multiplying them to get this factor, we can do all of that in a different order, and it makes thinking about it easier. For example, we're just going to find out what 3x is for all x's. What is 3x equal to for every single value of x here? Because that's pretty fast. In fact, start at 0. Yeah, if you plug in a 0, this is 0. If you plug in any negative, what goes here? Yeah, do the 3x all by itself. If you plug in any positive value, what goes here? Positive. Now do the other one. What value of x causes this to be 0? 2. If you plug in 1, would this be positive or negative? If you plug in 0, you plug in a negative. Negative. Okay. for every sign pattern chart you make in this class, you find what x causes the factor to equal 0. You really only have to test one x to the left and one x to the right, because all of the other associated values of x will have the same result. So it makes creating the sign chart very quick. Over here, I don't need to try 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I just try one of them. 5. 3 times 5 is a positive value. I'm done. Let's see. 3 minus 2 is a positive value. I'm done there. Question? Give me 1 or 2 if this right here makes perfect sense to you, please. Come on. 1 or 2 if it makes perfect sense. Sarah's a question.
What problem is this term?
So right now we're working on figuring out where f has a relative max. So we've got to study the signs of f prime. With me? So the next thing I do, Sarah, is I say to create f prime's value is simply this factor multiplied by this factor. So when x is very negative, this factor is negative, this factor is negative. They multiply to create a positive f prime value. Kelsey?
So then for the f prime of x, would it be positive until 3x equals 0 and then negative there? Would it be 0?
Right, because when x is equal to 0, what's this factor equal to?
0.
Good. What's this factor equal to? But these two factors multiply to give me f prime. So what's 0 multiplied by a negative? Good. So this is 0.
So then it's negative and then there's 0 on x times 2 is 0 again and then it's positive for the
Right? Okay, now I kind of went slow to hopefully not lose anybody, but very quickly, this is the whole point, Sarah Parker. We just figured out the sign, the positive and negative of f prime for all possible x's, and it really didn't take very long. It's much faster than trying to graph something.
So it would look like,
And what are kind of the more we have to the more you see when it changes.
When f changes, increase to decrease.
I like this one. This one's
Are we good to hear? So in 1 or 2, if you're comfortable with the f prime sign chart. 1 or 2, if you're comfortable with the f prime sign chart. Well, give yourself 2 more seconds. Next thing I do is I draw a sketch of f. It's not a graph. I'm going to make a note of this. Okay, we're making a sketch of f, not a graph. Just kind of a rough picture. And it helps if you draw some dotted lines here. So this is f. Okay, the whole reason we did this was knowing the signs of f prime tells me when f goes up and when f goes down. So now I can draw f like this. F doesn't look like this, but f does follow this up and down pattern. Does that make sense? Cool.
Oh, that's,
Yeah, that's why I say it's not a graph of f, it's just a sketch of f.
it's not.
But f does follow that up and down pattern.
So f has a relative max at x equals 0 and x equals 0.
Pretty close, made one tiny mistake. So f has a relative max at x equals 0 for sure. F has a relative min at x equals 0.
Oh.
That's what you meant, right? Perfect. Please, Lindsay.
Can you just explain how you got this sketch of that?
Huh? So Danica's chart tells me that whenever f prime has positive y coordinates, the sign chart is showing you y coordinates. These are y values, these are x values. So for x values that start at negative infinity and go to 0, all of the f prime values are positive. That means all of the f values will go up.
So does the 0 come into it?
No.
years.
All we really know is increasing and decreasing. We know nothing about concavity.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone hear that? Hey, look at me, look at me. Spy for Lindsay, look at me. Okay, she's making normal, listen, it's a very normal mistake. Everyone will do this, so let's just fix it right now. You don't look at F and think you know anything about the concavity. You don't. You don't look at F and think you know anything about the concavity. You do not. All you know about F is the up and down. All you know about F is the up and down. That's it. You with me?
So, yeah.
Okay. In the okay that we found the relative max and relative min of F. We're done with that. We've also found all the critical points of F. Please raise your hand. I'll pay everyone who knows. Critical points of F are at x equal what? Show me your hands. Where does F have critical points? Got to get these things memorized better. F has a critical point when the tangent slope of F is equal to 0 or undefined. You should be able to find F's critical points right here. Bam. That's where you find F's critical points. You don't really look here, you look here. What is this F?
X equals 0.
Okay, how many knew that? 47. 2-3%. Sarah, please.
So you can find the critical points without being a sketch of F, right? But you can't do them manually.
You actually can do the relative min and relative max without even a sketch, because I can write this, Sarah. Let me get some room here. You've done things like this before. We can say F has relative max when F changes increase to decrease, or when F prime changes positives, negatives. Which is at x equal 0. So I figured out where F has a relative max, Sarah, without ever making a sketch of that.
Oh, yeah.
Makes sense? Please.
So for critical points, it's when the slope is 0 or undefined. Can a sign chart show when it's undefined?
Yes.
And if so, can you give us an example?
This was a little bit tough because there's no places here where F prime is undefined. No, stay with me. But if I had this, if I had an F prime that looked like, say, okay. I would just kind of make a little note to the side somewhere. I just didn't have room on my paper. So, Chad, if you have an F prime that looks like this, you go to make a sign chart. Again, we make a sign chart using the factors of F prime.
Oh.
Fives over here-ish. Okay, so now I create F prime. There's a difference though. So everyone get that much written down in your notes. Then look up. Your name?
I just have a question.
Oh, please.
So yesterday you gave us the yellow packet. It was not about the new stuff. Do we have homework?
Do you-
The yellow packet?
Should I get the text?
Um,
And the text went out not yesterday.
Somebody just asked me, so I just found
The text went out on Monday for the yellow packet. It tells you which cost to use.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, Chad, everyone else? Get that part, you're still writing. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, to create f prime, Chad, it's a little different now. F prime is still made up of these two factors, but one factor is in the numerator, one is in the denominator. So when I combine them, this is what I say. If x is very negative, this factor will be negative. This factor is also negative, but they combine by saying a negative divided by a negative is a positive. With me? So I keep doing, now here's the difference. 0 divided by negative is still 0. You're seeing the answer now. But a positive divided by a 0 is an undefined value.
Gotcha.
Is that what you asked about?
Yep.
So what if the factors were added, so then we add them to make F prime? Is that true? So it just depends on.
So you made a note earlier, good question, and I said you can only make a sign chart with factors. Yeah, factors are terms that multiply. If you try to add things in a sign chart, you run into a problem, Deborah, because if I'm taking something that's positive and adding it to something that's negative, I don't know. Please.
Can you say what you can get when it's the, when you're just doing that, right? Like you do that side of that?
So I just said a negative, this fact, if x is like very negative, this factor will be negative.
Okay.
This factor will also be negative. A negative divided by a negative would be a positive.
So if you were to find the derivative of that, would you factor that, or would you just do the factor?
Unless what you need to do is find a derivative.
Like if you found the derivative of F prime into F double prime, like if it was asking for that, and you use the sign chart, then you're not good, you just do it with your formula, right?
No, here's what you're mixing up. In this problem, f prime is composed of two factors that multiply by each other. So when I create f prime, I simply multiply the two values. This example, the f prime that we're dealing with, is made up of two factors that divide by each other. So to create f prime, I simply divide the two factors. It just depends on the problem. Anyone else? Awesome. So back to here. So we have found all of this. Any questions? Cool. Okay, next thing, let's look at our list. We've done the RMIN, the RMAX, we've done the critical points. Increasing and decreasing is pretty easy now. Let's just make statements so that we know. So let's draw that up here. We got a little space. We'll say F is increasing. For F is increasing. F is increasing. That is spelling Wally wrong. Okay, F is increasing for. Okay, I want the whole class to raise their hand, please. For what x coordinates is F increasing based on the sign chart of F prime? For what x coordinates? Raise your hand. No, everybody. For what x coordinates is F increasing based on the sign of F prime? Everyone should know this. For what x coordinates is F increasing? Let's go, Mikhail.
Everything less than 0 and everything more than 2.
Good. So you could say for x less than 0 and for x, what was it?
More than 2.
Greater than 2. So this is, somebody had a different idea.
Oh, you just do, like, 0.
Yeah, you can write it like that. Oops, wrote the wrong one. They'll accept either answer. Like that. Perfect. How many got this before she said it? I'm showing it. 2 tickets. Do you have a question? Decreasing is very similar, so we won't write that down. Okay, next one. So we've done our max, our min. Oh, we got to do this thing, max and the min. Okay, I made up this interval. Ever hear that?
Yeah.
The -4 to 4 is simply an example. You're going to encounter a problem. They'll give you whatever interval they give you. Are you with me? So I just gave you an interval, they'll give you one. Okay, max is different, as I said to Chad earlier. Max does not mean relative max. F has a relative max, it's written right here. F has a relative max when F changes increase to decrease. The max of F is simply the highest point of F. So this is where the sketch becomes useful. So the sketch really begins over here at x equal -4. And our sketch ends at basically x equal +4. And we're supposed to look at every single point from x equal -4 to x equal +4 and identify which of all those infinite points is highest, has the greatest y value. Okay, first thing, I want a 1 or 2 if you understand what I mean when I say we are finding the max of F. A 1 or 2 can understand what I mean when I say find the max of F. One person's still a little fuzzy, so if someone else can say it, it might help that person. I'll pay you 5 tickets to say it. What are we trying to do? Go, Brady.
So where the graph is at the highest point?
Yeah, it's not really a graph, but that's the idea. So F, we're looking for which of these points is the highest. That's what's meant by find the max.
Just wondering, like, how do we know our intervals from -4 to 4?
Simply an example.
Okay.
So I made up the example to give us something to talk about. The interval will be whatever they tell you.
Well, actually, and then, but on like
No.
number 4, it doesn't.
Right, because you forgot what I said at the very beginning.
Sorry.
No worries. Gosh. That this is problem 4 from the homework. We're using this function to
Yeah.
answer all of these questions.
Well, I'm just like saying, if we were doing the problem.
Oh yeah, if we were doing number 4, we would have stopped right here and nothing else.
Oh, because you don't
That's
have
because they don't ask for
Yeah,
anything. So
sorry.
that makes sense.
Yep.
No worries. Everybody good? Cool. So, whole class now, everybody. Look at all these points. Okay? It's kind of a trick question. Of all of these points, at what x coordinate will the graph be highest? It's kind of a trick question. Okay, raise your hand if you can tell me. Just look at the picture. At what x coordinate will F be highest? You see that it's kind of a trick question. I know you're understanding. If you don't see the trick, then you're a little bit fuzzy. You maybe get it when somebody says it. So now I have people that can, everybody's looking at the floor. Landon, what do you see?
I see how it's a trick question because it's between 2 points. It's between 0 and 4, but
Perfect.
there's no way to
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. I'll say
Yeah.
that in about another 5 minutes.
Had it
Perfect,
good.
perfect, perfect. How many knew that before you said it and had your hand up?
No, you
Don't get
didn't.
points
I didn't have
for
my
your
hand up.
Don't
Have your hand up.
Yes, I did.
So we'll
That's
go
why I
5
didn't use my
and
hands
4.
because I didn't know.
Hey, now look. Of all of these points here, F is going up. When F's going up, the last point has to be the highest of all those points. When F goes down, none of those can be highest. Now F goes up again, so the last of the points going up would have to be highest. So the highest point is either here or here. So it'll be 1 or 2 if that makes perfect sense. Highest point is in 1 of 2 places. Good, 2 more points, we don't have a question. Chad, please.
So, like, theoretically, like, the 4 could be way higher, we just, because you don't know the values, it has to, like, be the same.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. 5 more tickets.
No.
Perfect,
Yes.
perfect,
He
perfect.
doesn't deserve it.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. We don't know any numbers, right, Chad?
Yeah.
We don't know any numbers. All we know is that F went up, F went down, F goes back up. That is totally wrong. Keep watching. There will be an announcement shortly. Please disregard the bell because they're all a bunch of idiots. We don't know when the bell's supposed to ring. Okay. F goes up, F goes down, F goes back up. Okay? We don't know how high. So there's 2 places where F could be highest. Any questions?
But
Oh, here, boys.
you can't have that because max, like absolute max, is only one value, right?
Listen to Lennon. Hey. F can only have one value that is highest. Now, F can have that value in more than one place, but f can only have one value that is highest. It's perfect. How do we figure out whether this y coordinate is greater than this y coordinate or vice versa? Plug it in. What do we plug it into?
Oh my gosh.
Which equation? This is a graph of what? This is a sketch of what? This is f. So what do we plug points into to find points? F. Yeah. Yeah, we started with that, remember?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Somebody's falling asleep on that. Okay. Look, we have f. Remember, you memorize this. You use the equation for f to find every single point on f. Right? We talked about this many, many times.
Yes.
Use the equation of f to find every single point on f. So we can find any point on f we want. We want to find out this point and this point. So we go find them. Let's make some room here. So I find f, let's see, f has a max at x equal 0 or x equal 4. So I go find f of 0, which will be 0 cubed, subtract 3 multiplied by 0 squared, which is 0, and then go find f of 4, which will be 4 cubed, subtract 3 multiplied by 4 squared, that's 64, subtract, let's see, 16 times 3 is 48. 16. I have found the highest y coordinate on f in the interval specified. So I can label them now. This is the point 0, 0. And as usual, my pictures don't make visual sense all the time, but who cares? 4 and 16. Please.
So, is there ever a time where there's going to be 3 or more points, and then you just have to plug in all the values and just find the highest one?
Perfect, 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 perfect. Bye for Derek. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Hey, Ewing County, the worst one I've seen for in-class problem, like on a test or something, is I think there was one where you had to try 4 of them. But you just plug them in and find out which one's highest. So, piece of cake. So we say the max of f is at x equal 4, where f of 4 is equal to 16. That's how you find the max of the function. Question? Please.
Do you put that as like a point, like 4, or should we do it on top?
Either way, you say this, the max of f is 4, 16.
You're allowed to even say the x.
No, either way is fine. What they usually ask, Kelsey, is they'll say, they'll either ask where does the max occur, or they'll ask what is the max. Where means the x coordinate, what means the y coordinate. But if they say, yeah, that's all. Anybody else? Okay, I want to see how well you're doing. Give me 1 or 2 if the block makes sense. Some people have abstained from voting. There we go. 2 more points. Well done. Cool. And all of this, our max, our min, increase and decrease. We found the max. I don't want to bore you. Raise your hand if you'd like to see how the min is done, just to make sure you've got it, or if you're like, no, I got it, I don't need to see it. Just show me if you need to see it. It's just kind of way.
I have a question though.
Oh, please.
It'd just be the bigger negative, right?
Yeah, whatever point. Well, it could be the least positive or the most negative, just depending on the problem. Does that make sense?
Let's look at the picture here. We'll just do it fast. So, in fact, we'll write it over here. So F has been on -4 to 4 at x equal, let's check the whole room, please. I'll pay everybody. Raise your hand if you can tell me at what x coordinate will F have its minimum value? It's a trick question again. At what x coordinate will F have its, I can give away the trick by saying at what x coordinate or coordinates will F have its minimum value? Show me your hands. All you know. All you know. Where will F have its minimum value? Let's go, Amanda. So x equals 2 or x equals 4. How many knew that before she said it? -4. Thank you. How many knew that before she said it? 2, 3 per minute. We got a question or want to talk about it or anything. Just go to work, yeah. So we just say, the biggest mistake usually, Derek, is this though. Everybody, hey, 2 for Derek. The biggest mistake is people just go too fast, and instead of plugging 2 and -4 into F, I'm trying to find out where F is lowest, they just plug it into F prime.
Yeah.
It's that bad habit of just doing stuff without knowing why you're doing it. Yeah, I want to find a point on F prime, on F, I gotta find where F is lowest. So I just go F of, it's got me doing it now, so I guess I'll just do it. So we say F of, add it to the notes. So the equation for F was way up here at the beginning. It's take the x value, cube it minus 3 times the value squared. So that's what I'm doing. 2 cubed minus 3 times 2 squared. So that's 8. Subtract, see that's 12, right? So -4. Then I go find F of -4. That's -64. That's minus 48. That's 112 negative. So F has been at -4, comma, -112. Please.
So because we was doing like you said like the -4 to the 4, that's just the name. So I was looking at like technically I want -5 do more than.
Oh, well done. No, hey, 3 for Zach. Perfect.
You owe me 10.
Dang! 20 for term 2. Wait till term 4. Okay.
Get mine wrong.
All right.
Never got mine wrong.
Chad's gonna start. He's gonna start. How would you say, lobbying for like a mistake. He's gonna start wearing a name tag, like different one every single day. Just mess my brain up.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I get
Joe. All right. Look, no. Jacob is correct. We know that F keeps going down forever. So yes, if you went further to the left, F would be lower. That's why they had to give us some sort of interval to check for. Perfect. Chance.
So you know how for the factors on when you're doing SPLA, you use the factors of F prime? It could be any number of factors, right? So you could have like, per se, 8 factors and you just use all 8.
Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect. The worst I think I've seen is about 3.
Yeah.
Like because it's a test questions, they don't really get carried away. But yeah, it's perfect.
So, one question, technically we don't need to use this sketch, you can just look at, okay, so at 0 it goes from positive to negative, so it's come in, and then at 2 it goes negative to positive, so it's a max.
Careful. Relative max, relative
max, or, and then compare or whatever. So we don't really need to use the sketch, we can just.
That is correct.
I just found that a great number of students really struggle if we just keep looking at this.
Yeah.
Once they draw the sketch, they stop struggling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're correct, Mikhail.
So if it asks for the max of f without interval, did you just say it's non-existent?
Ah, well done. Everyone look at it. Everyone answer this question. Everybody, look at me. Everybody answer it. If they did it, there really would be two possible answers, and they would accept either one. So look at the picture of f and do what Mikhail just said. Extend it forever. Raise your hand if you can tell me what will be the highest y coordinate of f. There's two ways you can answer this. Both are fine. If f goes on forever, what is the highest y coordinate of f? There's two ways you can say it. You gotta know one of the two ways. We've got a few people. Lexi, what do you say? So Lexi says infinity. That would be acceptable. F keeps going up forever. So the highest point is really infinite. It just never stops. Another acceptable answer would be
None.
there isn't one.
That's not-
Because it goes up forever. So there is no single highest value. So I've actually never seen them ask that because of that controversy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good question.
They could say like it's relative.
Yeah, relative max is different. That's what I was saying to Derek. F has a relative max whenever F changes, increase to decrease. Yep. Separate ideas. Yeah, the words are the same, right? Relative max and max, but the meaning is different enough that you must keep them separate. It's very good. There you go. Cool. Moving on to concavity. Concave up, concave down, or inflection point. I want the whole room to raise their hand now. We are trying to answer the question, when does F, like when is F concave up? When is F concave down? When does F have an inflection point? So raise your hand if you can tell me. We must study the sign of what to determine the answer to all three of those questions. Show me your hands, come on. Wake up, wake up. We must study the sign of what to determine when F is concave up, concave down, or when F has an inflection point. What are we studying the sign of? Brady.
Dang it.
F double prime. How many knew that? 2, 3 for Brady.
Good job, Bill.
So,
No, I didn't.
scroll down here, we just go at it again. Oh, big hint. Big hint. You have two equations for F prime. You have a unfactored F prime and you have a factored F prime. I would write in your notes the following. It's not really a flashcard thing, it's more of just a note thing. You must make a sign chart using the factored form of F prime. But for finding F double prime, the unfactored form is usually easier. So I'm going to use the unfactored form. So here we go. So F prime is equal to 3x squared subtract 6x. Therefore, F double prime is 6x subtract 6. Please.
If you're finding the derivative of f prime, should you not factor it out?
We will factor F double prime once we have found out.
like factor out f prime before you take the derivative of
Oh, no, good question, Jackson. No, you can do it either way. But my experience is taking the derivative of an unfactored F prime is typically easier. Is that your question? Good call.
How are you going so quickly from
F double prime simply means the derivative of F prime.
So you're saying alternate derivative?
Right, so I just looked at this and said, oh, this is just a polynomial, so bring down the 2, multiply, that's it. You're good. That's our question here. Now you need to factor F double prime to make a sign chart of F double prime. Draw a number line. Please look at the sign chart that I created for the factor of 6. Raise your hand if it makes sense. Please look at the sign chart I made for the factor 6 and raise your hand if it makes sense. Look at the sign chart I made for the factor 6 and raise your hand if it makes sense. You just keep your hands up, keep your hands up. The way you read the chart is you say, if x is a very negative value, what's 6? Positive. If x is 0, what's 6? Positive. Somebody understand this? Show me a 2 tickets. Anyone have a question? X minus 1 goes really quickly. Put 1 right here. That's 0. I test. You draw negative, a positive. Now I can build F prime very rapidly. F double prime, sorry. Now I can answer all these questions. I can say F is concave down for, someone please answer the question. Brady.
Values less than 1.
Good. So you say X less than 1. We say F is concave up, or X greater than 1. We say F has inflection point at X equals 1. We've answered every single question we started out to answer. Cool. Question. Okay, so what will happen on test 3 is you will not be given one function and asked to answer 10 questions. You'll be given 10 different questions.
For one function.
No, for 10 different functions. So that's what this was for, Langdon. Is, you know, on the test, you're going to get a problem where they give you some formula for F prime, and they say, hey, where does F prime have its minimum? You say, oh, wait a minute, I got to go do the sign chart for F double prime. Or you might get a problem where they give you F double prime, ask where F is concave up, you got to do the sign chart of that F double prime. That sort of thing is what's going to happen. Does anyone want to add anything to this table now that you understand better what a sign chart? Does this help, Sarah?
Yeah.
Good. So, yeah, please.
So whenever they're asking for the anything to do with math, you always do that.
That's not a really good way to remember it. The way you want to remember it is, if I want to find out when F is concave up or concave down, I need to study the signs of F double prime. Because you don't want them to fool you with this one, Sarah. Remember, this chart keeps going. So if they said, when is F prime concave up or concave down, now I must study F triple prime. Any questions? Okay, the homework will not be all of the blue problems. I will send you a text indicating which ones. Good work.